I saw your schedule, and that's a rock and roll schedule, you know? I mean, Ronnie and I tour, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday stuff. You
Oh,
know?
really?
I like having the week off, you know, but yeah, you guys were.
It's, in all fairness, as much as I loved the writing process and as much as I loved the recording process, the thing I really wanted to do was to be able to play those small venues. So it was a thrill for me. And as an actor, you know, my interest as an actor has always been to tell a story. And being able to go into those small venues, not really hide behind a character, but talk about these songs that are very personal to me, be able to kind of share that with an audience in an intimate way, was an even greater experience than I had expected. So, yeah, so it was awesome for me.
You know, people sometimes, after singing the same songs for 20 years, and they're like, don't you get bored? I mean, and I've sometimes equated it to being an actor, because you have to, every night, I think about people that do the same play on Broadway forever.
Right. Yeah, and I've
you
done
know,
that.
and somehow you have to find it in your heart to find that spirit and that creation and relive it again. And I mean, isn't there some logical comparison there?
You're always chasing something.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I'm a big fan of the movie The Right Stuff, and those pilots were chasing the sound barrier, and after the sound barrier, they were chasing something different. You know, people have asked me when I was doing 24, I did 24 for 9 years. And they were, weren't you bored of playing the same character? Like, my gosh, no. No, I mean, that character, every day it got a little different. And he was evolving over all those years. So as an actor, I love that. And there's nothing worse than playing a really great show and the next night not feeling you played as great a show. So you're always chasing it. And there's always room for improvement. And there's always room for a new understanding of something. And so for me, I like the minutia of all that. So for me, it's been really rewarding. I certainly understand for maybe more interesting people how it might be boring, but for me, I dig it.
Have you ever had a run of shows like this before?
Not this intense. We did about 25 shows out in California and Oregon on the East Coast, on the West Coast, but they were spread around the weekends and stuff like that. Never had done a run where I think we did 36 shows in 44 days. So that was pretty intense.
What was your biggest takeaway?
The audiences were amazing. You know, we were playing rooms from 250 to 400 people. And what I thought was the most interesting, and I didn't expect because, again, I had never done it on this kind of scale before. What I ended up really liking about the show the most is I think by the end of it, the audience and myself realized there wasn't very much different between any of us. And the human experience is what it is. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm one of the luckiest guys I've ever known. I've been able to do what I want to do for a living, been able to take care of my family. I don't have to worry about a lot of things that a lot of people do, and I understand that. But at the root of it, you know, if a friend of mine dies, it's no different than someone else having to go through that same thing. If my heart's broken, there are a lot of common things that we share outside of this perceived circumstance of being a successful actor.
Yeah.
And to be able to kind of have an evening kind of explaining that has been really cool for me, and I think it's been cool for the audience as well.
How do you explain this to your family, what you're doing?
To my family?
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky my kids are older. My youngest is 28. And
all the better the question.
Yeah. My daughter, my youngest, because we talk about it kind of the most, I think she's really proud that I ended up finally doing it. You know, I mean, I'll be the first to admit there's an incredible stigma of an actor doing music. And I think for 20 years, that stigma is why I really never wanted to get involved in it. And I was involved on the periphery. I had a label and a bunch of different things. But I never really wanted to put myself out there like that. And then finally I got to an age where I didn't care. If you're going to make fun of me or you're going to call me a name, go ahead. I don't care. And I certainly would not have traded this last 8 weeks for anything in my life. And so for my family, I think they've known I've played, they've known I've written for a long time. I think they were very happy that I finally got out of the house and did something with it.
It's funny. Well, Kevin Costner told me, he came to town he said, I was scared to death to come here.
Yeah.
And, my wife says, what's wrong with you? And he's like, he goes, what business do I have being an actor for these people that eat, live, and breathe, and these are like doctors in a hospital, their life is dedicated to it, but me to show up because I have some celebrity. And
right.
And she goes, well, do you enjoy it? And he goes, well, yeah, it's the funnest thing I've ever done. She said, then do it, quit acting ridiculous. And we want to act, I'm making movies with my son, studied screenwriting. He's out in Los Angeles, and we make movies, and they're not as good as 24, but I love doing it. He loves doing it. We get to work together. Like, who says we can't?
No, and in the end, and I've known Kevin. Kevin actually, the first job I ever had in the United States was a thing called Amazing Stories that Steven Spielberg directed. And Kevin was the other actor in it. And in all fairness to Kevin, he's been hauling that guitar around ever since I've known him, and that's for 27 years. I think he probably lives and breathes it a lot more than he'll admit to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, someone either is going to like your song or they're not going to like your song. And if they don't show up. And if they do, they do. And if you can manage to keep it that simple in your head, that's how it'll work. I was very lucky. I made this record with my best friend, a guy named Jude Cole. And when I went, I had about 25, 30 songs, and I took those songs to him, and we picked 2 to record. And my intention was to only record those songs to send them to BMI and Sony Music to see if they could get another artist to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And he really liked the way they turned out, and he said, I think you should keep these for yourself, and they're clearly very personal to you, and I'd like to do 2 more. And I said, no, I'm not interested. And again, going back to the stigma of an actor doing music. And I'm pretty predictable, so he took me out to the bar and got me drunk, and then all of a sudden it was a better idea. And so we kind of went forward like that. We'd do 2 songs, then he'd take me out, get me drunk, we'd do 2 more. And that's how the album came to be. But had he not kind of had the faith in me to do it, I still would not have done anything with it. So I believe anybody who has something that they believe is important to say or a story to tell, and they want to do it with music, they should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
something tells me you're a pretty deeply focused and obsessed individual in general.
I have moments.
Well, I mean, and I admire the hell out of you for the lengths that you went with your roping career.
Oh, well, thank you.
I mean,
Cheers.
and I followed and looked at that, and that's, I'm a wannabe cowboy like a lot of us are.
Yeah.
But I never got that, and I roped a little, but I never got that dedicated. I had enough friends with thumbs torn off. I went, God, I'm really picking a lot right now.
For me, something every once in a while will piss me off, and that'll make me go. With the roping, I started kind of just wanting, a little bit of an experience with it. And when I backed in to the box that very first time, I think I was in West Texas. I think I was in El Paso. And I backed into that box. And some guy called me Hollywood on the rails. And I let it get in me, and I ended up missing that cow, but it pissed me off enough that I ended up roping for 10 years. And oddly enough, like about 4 or 5 years ago was the first time I was playing in a cover band just for fun, and we would play, any bar outside, 50 miles outside of LA, we'd play. We would never play in LA. And I remember the very first night I went out to go play, I'd spent 30 years, if I was ever nervous as an actor, I'd just funnel that nervous energy to my hands because I could put my hands in my pocket. And all of a sudden, I've got a guitar in my hand, and I'm nervous, and my right hand is shaking so bad I can't play. And that pissed me off so much that I played 200 shows with that cover band until I got past that. And so for me, I've always kind of managed to take a negative and try and turn it into something good.
That's a good story. Did you ever get hung up bad roping or? It's a
No,
dangerous
actually,
sport.
I was doing
People don't realize that.
I got all right. I've broken all my fingers doing it, but I've never lost. I mean, obviously, I haven't lost. I've still got my thumbs.
So a little more dangerous sport. Going to the Grand Ole Opry the first time. What are your thoughts about that?
It's such an honor. You know, I think the only fear that I have is just being as respectful of that place as it deserves. I want to say the right thing. I want to stand in the right place. I really am very conscious and conscientious of and have real historic reverence of that place. It's a church to me. And to have been invited was really one of the great privileges that I've experienced in my life. And I want to treat it as such. And so, but we're incredibly excited to go and just absolutely thrilled.
What do you think it's going to be like?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'll call you right after I'm done and I'll tell you.
But you know, when you're going to do something, it's like the first time I played this or that or Madison Square, you know, you just...
Well, tell me what's that's like. The first time you played Madison Square Gardens, what's that like?
More important to me was the first time I played Radio City Music Hall.
Of course, yeah.
Because my father, when I was a kid, my dad traveled a lot, and we didn't get to spend as much time when I was young as we would like to have. But he calls me up. He traveled all the time. He called me up. I was staying with my grandparents. He's like, "Hey, I've got to go to New York City. Would you like to go with me?" I'm like, oh, I've never been. I'm like 8 years old. And anyway, we go. He says, "What do you want to do?" "I want to see the Empire State Building. I want to see the Statue of Liberty." He takes me to the top of the Empire State Building, throws a quarter in, goes, "There's the Statue of Liberty." I'm like, "No, I want to go out there," because that ain't going to happen. You know?
That's funny. That's funny.
But anyway, that night we went to the premiere of The Odd Couple at Radio City Music Hall.
Oh, my gosh.
I remember sitting up in the balcony, and after the movie, the Rockettes came out, and they did their deal, you know, as part of the premiere. And the next time I went to New York City, we had sold out Radio City.
Wow.
So I walked out on that stage, and some union guy came and took my guitar away from me because I wasn't supposed to carry it, apparently.
Oh, wow.
But I remember,
that's funny.
But, you know, I remember looking up and seeing me and my father in that balcony and thinking,
"Oh, that's great."
You know,
man.
isn't life a funny circle?
That's awesome.
And so that was my New York memory that will always be tattooed there.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it still gets me when
that's
I
a
go
really
there.
moving story.
But the Opry was different. You know, the Opry for me was just because it is what it is. And for me, it was kind of weird because I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
And we had the Louisiana Hayride. And that's when Hank got thrown off the Opry and Cash got thrown off the Opry and Elvis was told that he was no longer welcome there. They all came to Shreveport because the Hayride welcomed all hellions and
right, all the outlaws.
yeah, and outlaws.
Yeah.
And so I had kind of mixed emotions about the Opry in a way just because of that.
Right.
And grew up with Hank Williams and Johnny Horton's widow. And so there was kind of a little pushback somewhere inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I stepped out on that stage, man, my humility rose right to the top, and I went, wow, I don't deserve to be here.
That's a perfect word, humility.
Yeah.
Because that's certainly, I think that's probably the most pervasive feeling that I'm having about going, is just an overwhelming sense of humility.
But the wonderful thing about that is you feel the same as everybody else, like you were talking about before.
Yeah.
Those emotions,
Yeah.
those emotions have no boundaries.
Yeah.
Everybody, I don't care. You can talk to anybody that ever did it, and that especially that first time, stand in that circle. You just think about, even in the new building. You know, are you going to be at the Ryman or at the Opry House?
We're at the Opry House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even there, I mean, I can remember after the Opry, Marty Robbins, standing there and playing for 2 hours to the crowd, doing, a whole show.
Oh, really?
After the Opry was
the
over,
Opry, wow.
whatever. There's still great history there, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no,
that's neat, man.
And I'm glad you articulated it the way you did, because I was having a hard time finding the word. And humility is the one that's going to be in my back pocket. Yeah, cheers.
It's awesome. Well, good luck with the record. I don't think you can define what you do. You got a real cool voice, man.
Thank you.
And good luck to you with everything you're doing,
bless
man.
your heart, man.
I'm glad you stopped by. How many people like me have saved a whole season of 24 and watched it in a day?
I've actually...
Have you heard that a jillion times?
I have heard it before. The first time I heard it was... kind of made me laugh, was after the first season of 24. They put it out on DVD, and we had just started the second season. And this guy is standing there. I'm in an airport, and this guy's standing there with his wife, and he looks at me. He says, "Oh, my God, it's you." And I said, "Oh, okay, hello." He said, "Yeah, you ruined our honeymoon." And I looked at his wife immediately, and I was like, "Okay, I've never met her before, so I don't know what you're talking about. There's no problem here." And he went, "No," he laughed. And he said, "No, we got the box set of 24, and we watched the first 12 hours flying to Paris from L.A. on the plane. And we were so obsessed with it, we watched the next 12 hours in our hotel, ruined our honeymoon." And that was the first time I'd ever heard that. And then my dad used to watch it like that as well. I was that was the gift of a lifetime for an actor, that show, for me. And
you were great at it.
I'd have kept doing it
Great
till
character.
I died if it just didn't start feeling silly. How many bad days could one guy have?
How much do you and your father talk?
We talk a lot.
Do you?
We talk a lot.
That's good.
You know,
He's so good.
he's as good an actor as there is out there. I think he's not only is he one of the most prolific actors in the English language. The diversity of his work is just purely extraordinary.
Well, he's got to be proud of you too, man.
I think so. I think so. He has moments.
From Young Guns to Roping to singer. Do you call your music any kind of thing?
I think if I were to label it any way, I would say it's kind of Americana with a country kick.
Mm-hmm. That's a good call.
That would be as close to it. And then there's a couple rock tracks on it. But it's...
Your band's good. The tracking's good, too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's Jude Cole. It was really only three of us that made the record. It was myself, Jude, and Brian played drums, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then I think Greg Leese came and played some pedal steel on it, and Brian...
I think it really fits your songs and what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
There's plenty of stuff that people do to screw that up, and I was talking to Lonnie before you came in, and I said, man, front end of a lot of these things, they kick off good, they feel good.
Thank you very much. I'll pass that along to Jude, because
please do.
Because that was really him.
Please do.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cheers, brother.
Cool, man.
Absolute
Thanks for coming
pleasure.
in.
I cannot thank you enough for having me.
No, it's great.